I'm Eduardo and this is the JavaScript Haunted House. I hope you're ready, because in this chapter we're gonna see something that will blow your mind. Event handlers. JavaScript is known as the responsible for interactive web applications. To create interactivity, things must happen not only when a page loads, but also to respond to some event. Clicking a button, hovering the mouse over an element, or even when the user leaves the page. These events take place in the HTML elements, but we can create triggers in these elements to execute JavaScript code. Enough talking. Let's see how events work in practice. Let's make that when a user clicks a button, we display a message below the button. For example, I know you just clicked. In our HTML, we have a button with a simple text and a paragraph with the ID message where we'll place our text. The trigger event should always be placed on the element that will have the user interaction, in this case the button. We'll declare the onClick, and inside it we'll put JavaScript code to be executed when the button is clicked. To test if it's working, let's put a console.log clicked within the onClick and click the button to test. On the console we can see that it worked, so let's remove the console.log and put the correct code. We want to select the element P and put the message into it. For this, we type document.getElementById message.innerHTML. This way we can put the message inside it. I know you just clicked. Let's click and see what happens. Oh, look at that! It worked! Giving feedback to user actions is one of the coolest parts of JavaScript, as we give life to an application. There are several types of HTML events that can be recognized, generating a reaction of JavaScript. In this chapter, we're going to talk about the more common ones like onClick, on mouse over, on mouse out, on key down, on load, and on focus. In the previous example, we saw the onClick, an event that detects a click on an HTML element. To use it, just type onClick =, and the JavaScript code to be executed inside the quotation marks. Remember that we can also call a JavaScript function when an event is triggered, such as button clicked function. The onMouseEnter event fires when the mouse enters an element, overlapping it on the screen. It can be used in several cases, for example, when we need to show more options or information about a button or an element. To use it, we use the syntax of regular events. Let's set this parameter in a div and test the functionality with the help of an alert. The onMouseOut works the same way, but the event is triggered when the mouse leaves the element. Let's test in the same div, but now with the GotOut alert. The onKeyDown event works great for validation of inputs, since it triggers the event as soon as a key is pressed. Let's set it in a text field and do something really cool with it. How about we find out which key was pressed? To show the pressed key in an alert, let's put the following code inside the event: string.fromChairCode event.keyCode. Let's go step by step so you understand what's happening. The event is the current event, the key down. By the event, we can access multiple properties, including key code. The key code returns the pressed key code. The key code is not the actual key, but a code, like 36 or 64. The method fromChairCode translates this code to the actual key, and with the string we are getting a string with this key. Let's type a letter and see what happens. Perfect, exactly what we wanted. The onload event is a little different from what we have seen so far. It only works on some elements, and it's generally used in the body tag. The onload only fires the JS code when the element has been loaded completely. Let's create an image inside the body and put the onload event in both of them. If we refresh the page, we can see that the image element has finished loading before the body, and this way we can define exactly when some JavaScript will be executed. By giving feedback to the user after typing, clicking or moving the mouse, we are making a lot more interesting page. The onFocus, as the onName suggests, is activated when a field gets focus. The onBlur, on the other hand, is triggered when it loses focus. With these two events combined, we can show to the user where the focus is in a very friendly way. Let's get to work. We will create a text input and set onFocus and onBlur. When the input gets focus, we want a thin border to appear around it, indicating that this field has the focus right now. When the field loses focus, this border should disappear, leaving the field with its default border. Simple, isn't it? In order to do this, we'll use the word this that references the element where the event is being fired. This way, we can tell JavaScript we want to take the input itself and do something with it. Since we want to set the new border on it, that's what we're going to do. We begin with the word this.style, which means we want to change the style of the element. After that, we put the attribute we want to change, in this case, border. An equal sign and the new value in quotation marks end the statement. This border can be solid, 1 pixel wide and have a blue color, for example. On the onBlur event, we'll change the same property again. This time, let's set it to nothing, and the browser will set the default border to it. Let's test. Perfect, exactly what we wanted. An inventory cannot be complete without using event handlers. I don't know if you agree with me, but I think that this clues being always visible is not a good idea. It's better if we just make them appear only after a click of a button. What do you think? We already have the function to show the clues, and it's being called at the end of our code. Let's remove the call because we just want to show them after clicking on a button. Let's now create a button in our HTML and name it Show Clues. We can set an onClick event to this button and define our function to it. Very simple, isn't it? This way, the function will only be called at the click of the button. Perfect. If only by using events we can create interactivity, combining them with other JavaScript methods only makes it more interesting. Let's see a few others and then create a code mixing everything. Confirm is a dialog box similar to alert, but it gives the user two options, yes or no. This too is very useful if you want to confirm an action with the user before doing something. If we put a confirm alone in the code, it won't do anything, since we are not using the confirmation. If the user clicks yes, the confirm will return a boolean true, and if not, false. Let's create a simple code to test it. A variable called answer, which receives the response from the user. If answer is true, an alert will appear with the message "you are sure." If not, an alert will appear with the message "you're not sure." Sounds silly, but it's very important, trust me. Another function similar to confirm is the prompt, a dialog box that provides a text field to be filled in by the user. The confirmation buttons are also presented. If the user clicks OK, the function returns the value entered as a string, and if they click cancel, it returns null. We can also display a default text editable by the user. For example, placing a comma and a new value in quotation marks, it will be shown in the text field by default. Let's now go back to events. Let's try to combine them with these dialog boxes, creating a more advanced interaction. Do you think you can handle it? I'm sure you can. Let's create a button that, when clicked, starts a dialog between the system and the user. A button with an on-click event should work. Within this button, let's type, "Can anyone hear me?" This will be the button text. Let's leave this button aside for now and create a function that will create the dialog. Function start dialog. The first step is to create a confirm and ask if the user really wants to know if someone's in the room. We'll store the answer in the answer variable and run different codes depending on it. If the answer is negative, we'll display the message, "You coward." After this message, let's end the function. If the answer is yes, then it starts to get more interesting. Let's ask the username using a prompt with a mysterious sentence in it. We'll save the value entered in the username variable and create an if below to see if the return of the prompt is not null or empty. If the name is different from null and it's not empty, we create an alert to answer the question. Scary, don't you think? Create a code covering different kinds of functions is a great way to review all the content we've seen so far and prepare yourself for the challenges we may find reaching the end of the JavaScript Haunted House. See you in the next row.